Here we are.
Hello. Oh, it's a little white, isn't it? Oh, that's me.
Welcome to Behind Enemy Lines.
Yeah, we're in a bunker somewhere in the communist state of Illinois. And so tonight's show...
The uniparty state.
Tonight's show, we're going to talk about Downers Grove Township Republican organization. You know, we're having a hard time winning elections, school board. We're getting crushed, right? And insanity is repeating the same things over and over and over again and expecting different results. Matter of fact, our results keep getting worse and worse and worse.
We've come to find out that we might not even have a Republican Party.
No.
I don't know if it exists.
We are fortunate enough to have the Senate Minority Leader to live in our district. And he's really helping us out.
Are we fortunate? Are we fortunate?
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
There's not much that I've seen that guy do.
Yeah.
Besides help out the Democrats.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to talk about that. Almost 2 years ago, not quite 2 years ago, when I first was getting involved, I ran for a committeeman. There was a story in the DuPage Policy Journal that was published. It's actually more relevant today than it was back then. I made a statement that the Illinois Republican Party needs to get much more aggressive in the fight against radical leftists. And that's very true, right? I complained that they weren't helping us out with the school boards. They said the school boards were nonpartisan, right? Well, I think all of us know that's BS. It's, Pritzker's giving them $1 million.
Right. Why did the Democrats raise
unions,
millions of dollars for the school board races then if it's nonpartisan?
John Curran got $30,000 from the Illinois Teachers Association.
Yeah.
$30,000. All right, sorry. It's producers bitching at me over there. $30,000 to the
Terry's
teachers
like a
union.
wind-up toy. We just gotta put him in the right spot and let him go.
Man, this light makes me look like I have two chins. It's weird.
What they say? The camera adds 10 pounds.
I almost have 4.
So John Curran, and we're going to talk about this, right? We're talking about the challenges we're facing with our two special guests here who have been fighting this way longer than us two young guys. That's another joke, this young guy. But I'm new to this, and they've been fighting the good fight by themselves, alone, with with no support from the Illinois Republican Party.
Should we have them introduce themselves, or?
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, so we have a sponsor.
We have a sponsor. First sponsor.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah.
So we're going to play a little commercial for our sponsor who's fighting the fight with us. And we need everybody in the fight. So watch this, and we'll be back in 60 seconds.
get Republicans elected. Over the years, though, I came to an epiphany with respect to how things are actually done. If you've got an issue that is important and it's not on their agenda, you're not going to be given the attention that it deserves. And over the years, as the left has started to roll through DuPage County, and the existing leadership continues to do the same rinse and repeat, except every time we rinse and repeat, we lose elections. To the point now where, we've got a supermajority of Democrats in both houses. Most of the elected offices in DuPage County are now held by Democrats, and there's a minority of Republicans on the county board.
To say the least.
To say the least. And
we do have the coroner, by the way.
Yeah.
So, Noel, we actually met a couple of years ago, and Terry, you and I were going to the school board meetings, and we're speaking out. Jeff, I know you were there. I know Noel was instrumental in the Wake Up D99 group that we had formed. So can you talk about, obviously the journey of dissent started back then. Just give us a little background about why you started parting ways with what the establishment view was. Because back then, I know originally it was the COVID measures, and then we found out a lot more disconcerting information about what was going on in schools. But maybe talk about how you evolved away from establishment thinking there.
Well, what happened was in 2015, we had a board election here in District 86, which covers Darien, Hinsdale, Oak Brook, Burr Ridge, Willowbrook, and part of Westmont. And what happened was that I was a good party man. I worked on Kirk Dillard's campaign when he ran for governor in 2014. I worked on a couple of other congressional races and local races here. And then when our group, who was in charge of the board in D86, came up for re-election, we had asked for the support of DGTRO, and we didn't get it. In fact, not only did we not get it, we had members of DGTRO actively working against us, including the former chairman of that organization, Kirk Dillard. In fact, just prior to the election, my neighbor came over and gave me a copy of the Tribune. He says, "What's this all about?" And on the back page was a half-page ad that Kirk Dillard, former DGTRO chairman and Illinois state senator, supported our 3 Democrat opponents.
Sounds a little swampy to me.
So I called him out. at the DGTRO meeting, and Kirk just took off and ran out of the room because he didn't want to deal with it. But
weren't you called an anarchist or anything at that time? Or is that later? Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
This whole experience disenfranchised you a bit, right? Let's fast forward to.
So that was my that was my wake up call.
Right.
And then over the years, I've been involved with different referendums and so forth over the years, and then COVID hit. It was like a slap in the face to this country.
Right.
The lockdowns, the masking, all that nonsense.
Oh, we're going from YouTube now.
And,
oh, no. We are. Oh, shit. We are. You did that last time.
I'm just explaining.
We are. We got the. Just saying it. So oh, shit.
I'm just explaining what we were doing in this group, right? But that was part of it.
He was joking. That was a joke. He's quad vaxxed.
I'm part of the booster club. No.
I hope you're not shedding.
So a group of us got together. Yeah. We formed a little group called Wake Up D99. We had a committee, all committeemen, right? And we were speaking out against things. And, you saw how that worked out.
Oh, yeah.
And can you, talk about what our experience with the establishment was there?
Well, once again, we reached out to the leadership in DGTRO, and again we were met with, well, these are nonpartisan elections. We stay away from these board elections.
Right.
And of course, the counter argument was, Well, the Democrat Party is fully invested in
Right.
this. In fact, at the majority of these D99 board meetings we were attending in 2021, there was one particular Democrat official who was there almost every week with us. She was the
Was it the Antifa one?
Yeah, the Antifa
Yeah,
one.
I think her name's Mary Lemansky. I'll say it.
Yeah, she was the social media director of
Right.
the DuPage County Democrat Party, and she was there every week, and she had every right to be. So, and good for
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
But as far as people like us are concerned, we were there, but there was no leadership. There was no, hey guys, you're doing a great job. Keep going at it. You know, we got to fight this nonsense. And what was
Now, to put this in context, I was brand new to the committeeman thing at that time, and I was kind of like, what is this? Why isn't the party supporting us? I had no idea.
Same with me.
And they were like telling me, you know, this is just the way it is.
Trying
you
to
know?
convince me it's
Yeah,
nonpartisan.
it's just nonpartisan, blah, blah, blah.
Well, what's
And-
interesting is the
Well, yeah, hey, you know what, Jeff, why
bylaws-
don't you introduce yourself?
Let's do a shout out
Yeah.
to his wife, Mary, who I love, by the way.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Hey,
Shout
Mary.
out to Mary. Hello,
Mary's
Mary.
fantastic.
Very supportive.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Mack, and I'm basically a lifelong resident of Downers Grove. And I kind of got conscripted into this because Mary was a committeeman for quite a few years, I think since 2012, after doing a stint on the COD board. And I kind of got conscripted into helping her, and I was kind of in the background, you know, just supporting her in that role. And then I got much more involved back in 20 when I challenged Bob Grogan in the primary in 20. And it was an interesting contest. I made him sweat a bit. And,
That's good.
You know, for somebody that really was not known, I got
Right.
almost 40% of the vote, which I thought wasn't bad. you
Yeah.
know. But and then COVID
sorry.
hit right at that primary, you know, and then we got everything, you know, lockdowns, everything else, you know, and that kind of opened my eyes into a lot of things. But back to the point I was making, the bylaws don't prohibit the organization from participating in
Right.
nonpartisan elections.
Sure.
They are actually specifically talked about in the bylaws, and there's no prohibition, which is not what the leadership wants to lead you to believe.
So if there's no procedural, you know, inhibitions, you wonder, this must be coming from there must be a human element to not wanting to defend some conservative
I don't know what the
positions.
human element is, but I do know that the bylaws provide for that kind of participation, but the leadership tries to keep the bylaws under wraps. They don't want people to have the bylaws.
Well, and we had you and I had a sort of an intimate experience with the executive committee in working with trying to implement the service battle plan,
Yeah.
right? And kind of saw how compartmentalized they kept things. And I know when we were there, we talked about, there's some radical stuff going on in the library. They're bringing in a CRT consultant, paying $100 and something thousand for them to tell the library that it appears that Downers Grove North people are oppressing Downers Grove South people because they have way more rich white people. And the PowerPoint was just slapped together, copied and pasted and everything.
Well, how else would we know we're racist?
Right. Drag queen story. Anyway, drag queen story.
I'm a
hour.
Southsider, by the way.
Sexualization, propaganda in the schools, CRT in the schools, all that stuff. When we went to the executive committee for our local Downers Grove Township Republican organization and told them, hey, let's call this stuff out because the Democrats are happy to introduce this stuff and then defend it. We should point out that they are for these radical measures, and we were rebuked every time.
Well, and that's what bothers me too, is the Republican leadership is so afraid to challenge the Democrats on these radical issues.
Yeah.
They just keep rolling with them, and there's no pushback from the party, from the Republican Party. They're more afraid of the Democrats and the media than they are of their grassroots. And I think of the grassroots, we're going to have to
Well,
them.
that's gonna end pretty
That's
soon.
what we're doing.
Yeah, I know, but
Be very afraid of the grassroots so-called Illinois Republican Party, because you're not using the party, or we're just going to take it from you. You can remove yourself or be removed.
Yeah, Novak, did you get my text? I hope you're watching. Sorry, guys. These guys are nice guys. Don't let us taint them. They're really good guys.
So, Jeff, just to circle back on your experience with working for the local Republican organization, Noel kind of explained what kind of disenfranchised him with the organization and the fact that they weren't fighting. Why don't you give us a little bit of an idea of where you kind of split?
Yeah,
with things?
What I just mentioned. The fact that we keep losing elections. They don't want to fight. They don't push back on these radical agendas. They're so afraid of being tarred as racists,
Right.
bigots, homophobes, and transphobes that they won't fight. Whereas we should be out there shaming our opposition for the perverts
Yeah.
that are infesting the schools. We have a lot of predators and perverts in the schools that are sexualizing young children with all these, sexual things
Right.
that they're not ready for.
Yep.
And
Just last April,
Oh,
ahead.
yeah.
just last April, the Homeland Security arrested a
Let's try to recover after that. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. We're new to this.
There's nothing on the screen. There it is. Can you get us all on one camera?
I'm working on it. That camera's for some reason not coming up.
It's probably because of the reboot.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, you're on the camera. Keep talking. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm the guy on the camera now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so we, I think we basically were talking about how, all of us kept appealing to the organization to fight back against the radicalism of the left.
Oh, yeah.
And, we continually got rebuked. And meanwhile, here's Terry.
and it's important to understand that the stuff that we were pushing back on was simply, the anti-police rhetoric going on in the schools, the
Sexual propaganda.
sexual propaganda. I mean, these are like no-brainers.
I mean, Republicans during COVID couldn't even bring themselves to speak out against the masking in the schools. Or,
Exactly.
You know what we haven't touched on yet?
at least at the local level.
Is boys and girls bathrooms in sports. We haven't even got there yet.
You know, the stuff they're doing with kids and sex ed and all that craziness, barely a generation ago, we would have arrested people for that stuff.
I mean, I saw something the other day. I saw an article the other day that there was a medical professional that suggested that a 3-year-old could choose their gender.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that too.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we got a little bit about your background and why you guys kind of, parted ways with the establishment way of thinking. It's not like you didn't put enough effort into the party or, and both of you, by the way, are still committeemen, just like Terry and I, right? So we're both still part of the system, or all four of us are still part of the system.
Yeah.
But what the problem that we've run into is that the party doesn't seem to like dissent. So if we, dare to criticize Republicans, they'll try to, censor us.
Yeah,
and quash dissent.
Let's wake everybody up. Put that Bud Light picture up there. All right. Speaking of dissent, establishment hate. I love that.
Well, it's
that's
a little over the top, Terry.
Let me explain, Jeff. I appreciate your views, and I understand, I guess.
Yeah.
But the reason.
By the way, that's our Republican organization chairman.
You could leave that back up there covering me. I don't care. I like looking at Jack. So sorry, Jeff. You can throw it back up there. I can talk over for a few seconds. I want to.
Don't worry, Jeff. We're not.
I don't want to laugh at Jack's expense, but
So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So here's what this is intended to mean for some of you whiners that are complaining about it. So Jack Novak is like a little tyrant, Napoleon complex, egotistical maniac, right? That podium right there, that's his baby. That's his bread and butter in that room. That's his prized possession. It makes him feel important. Makes him feel really important.
I mean, it looks pretty.
It
looks like
job,
it.
Jason.
It looks like it fits.
It's a great job.
It's not like it's a far-fetched. Like it doesn't look absurd on him. It looks like it kind of fits.
You notice the little touch? He's got the Bud Light Pride can there drinking. Since he agrees with all their stuff. So,
okay, Terry.
Hold on a minute. So the whole purpose I got that up there is because he's a dictator to us, right? From what he did recently, he chastised some of our people. Another great, nice gentleman, Scott, who wanted to question and challenge Tornatore and Paczynski, is it?
Puchalski,
Yeah,
And
Puchalski.
Jim, and Jim Zay.
And Jim Zay. So
Yeah.
these guys, Jim Zay is our DuPage County chairman. He's another joke. And so these other two clowns
Swamp.
gave money to Deb Conroy. They donated money to one of our top rivals. They also gave money to Kim Fox. Both those guys gave money to Kim Fox.
State election
That's
board.
unacceptable. And so one of our guys wanted to censor them.
Yeah.
And Jack Novak hated that. He didn't like it. He got mad.
How dare he?
Yeah, he called them anarchists. All these people are committeemen that are knocking on the doors and stuff, and they're
Activists.
upset. We don't even have enough money. What did we raise? What did DuPage raise?
They have no money.
No, what did they raise
Oh,
up?
yeah. So Noel.
Just say that real.
Noel was quoted in the DuPage Policy Journal when he pointed out that.
I don't know.
Well, I'll keep talking like we're online, but he pointed out that the DuPage County Republicans raised what $25
$25.
in Q2 of 2023. So
So if you want to see the state of the Republican Party in DuPage County, that's it.
Right.
$25.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you look at District 81 House race. They threw about $1.5 million a year ago to Ann Stava Murray.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
did
And Ann Stava Murray, the one who's
our
all
candidate,
about the
what was his name again?
Paul Leung.
Leon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he had about $8,000.
Yeah,
to work
maybe.
with
Yeah.
at most.
Yeah.
So they're not serious about winning these races.
So back to this little meme. It's a meme here, so I think it's funny as shit. I'm sorry, Joe. and so the whole what's that? So we can't even raise money, right? So we have Tornatore giving $1,000 to Deb Conroy. That's like a whole quarter for us,
Right.
And then the other clown gave, I think, $250 or whatever. Then they both gave to Kim Fox. Scott spoke up, said he would like to censure him. He's upset, just like all of us, right? So a censure is basically a slap on the wrist. It's nothing. Novak got mad, called him anarchist behind my back because I speak out just like all these guys in here at the school boards, right? And because I was at January 6th, I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't fight. I didn't hit anyone. I was back in my room before people even went into the Capitol. So I'm called a right-wing extremist. Mm-hmm. And Jack said that, we don't have room for anarchists or extremists like me.
They told me to stay away from you.
Yeah.
They told me to stay away from you.
So,
Yeah.
And I got one other little story about Jack that's relevant, and then you guys can pick up from there. I don't know, about 7, 8, 9 months ago, there was issues with the library. I had a board member willing to come speak to our group on one of our meetings. So I called Novak to tell him this. And I said, this guy wants to come speak to our group. And Novak goes, on the stage or at the table? And I'm like, on the stage, of course. It's his little podium. He feels strong and powerful and mighty up there. And he seemed taken back that I said on the podium. I said, listen, Jack, I'll just kick it off. I'll introduce him, really quickly. Oh, you can't do that. I said, what do you mean I can't do that? He goes, because I said. I said, what do you mean because you said? I go, I just want to introduce him and tee him up because he's not filming. He doesn't even participate in any of the library stuff, right? He was, because I said. So I had a couple words to that little troll, and I hung up on him. And so from that point on, I was done with the guy, not counting all the other stuff he's been doing to our party.
I was allowed to speak on the podium up there during our presentation of the Surus battle plan. And I gave like a politically motivating speech because everybody else got up there and it was like, this is what we're doing. I talked about how, hey, we got to get out there. We got to fight. The Democrats are pushing left, 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 left. We're sitting here. We're pretending like we can't upset the middle. We don't have a middle anymore, okay? The Democrats own every single institution. And I went on and I said, the Democrats are not Democrats. They're Marxists. After that speech, I got a standing ovation, and he told me, one piece of advice I'd give you, I wouldn't have said Marxist. So look, we as Republicans don't even have the guts to call a spade, and he's a prime example of establishment thinking that needs to go, in my opinion. But you know what? Like Terry said, you guys obviously you're a little more measured. We're the ones who are.
Yeah, well, you know, like with the censure thing that Scott tried to do, I understood his motivations, and it was very dispiriting what those guys did, making donations like that. But in Jack's defense on that particular issue, I don't think doing a censure within DGTRO is within the organization's purpose and stated mission.
So part of what so these people represent DuPage County, right? Mm-hmm. These people that donated the money, like we all live in DuPage County.
Right.
We're a township within DuPage County, right? So what did Jack tell us on Monday? We're supposed to elect the most electable, best representative Republicans, right? So if we don't go after, if we don't go after and make a statement, so it wasn't just for us. We wanted other townships to make a statement to Jim Zay, who defends that. He's our chairman, right? Of all of us fall under that. And make a statement to these guys that are on the DuPage board. Mm-hmm. It's not acceptable.
Well, I agree with that, but I think what I don't agree with the way Jack has been handling this whole thing. What he should do is allow conversation on the floor, and he should take what people are saying and what their feelings are, and move that up.
Yeah, he's violating
the organization,
violating
to the leadership above him.
So Noel, tell us what he retaliated on the fight. You were there the next month. Were you there when Torn? Yeah, why don't you tell us what Jack did?
So Jack invited Jim Zay and Sam Tornatore to speak at the July meeting, and
the closet Democrats. You mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And and they came out and tried to defend themselves, but they came out in a manner it was like, we didn't have to be here tonight.
We're doing you a favor.
We're doing you a favor by coming.
Hey guys, that's right. You don't have to be here. So why don't you get the hell out? Because nobody wants you who give to Democrats representing us, and we're coming for you. Go ahead, Noel.
And they're justifying these Deb Conroy, the Kim Fox thing didn't come out until afterwards, but they're justifying, well, we've got to work with these people and this and that.
Blah, blah,
Wait a
blah.
minute.
You know what that's called? Pay for play.
Yeah. So now, this is the same Deb Conroy who was leading the charge against Jim Mendrick in the AR-15 ban when he said that he wasn't going to enforce that. So they were going to censure him. But somehow, when we find out that our leadership is donating to Deb Conroy and not doing those things that, really leadership should do, like advocating for these issues like children, schools, police. Somehow we're the anarchists, we're the ideologues. It's absurd. It's absurd. Now, years ago, I'd issued an email to the group of committeemen, and I laid out 3 points to them. I said, there are 3 reasons why I moved to DuPage County. One is good schools, the other is safe communities, and the third was low taxes. Well, all 3 of those are gone now. Yeah. We have a mass shooting here in unincorporated Willowbrook in June. We've got shootings and looting going on in Oak Brook. And to Bob Berlin's credit, I mean, he is aggressively, prosecuting these folks.
Big fan of Bob.
I support him.
I support Bob.
But the bottom line is that these criminals are emboldened enough to come to DuPage County and commit these crimes.
Well, that's what the Safety Act will do.
They were stealing cars in my
Exactly.
subdivision. They were coming stealing cars, going in, and they caught the guy. But
and then the schools. Everybody wants good schools. Everybody wants great schools. I don't know anybody who doesn't want great schools.
Right.
But we don't have great schools anymore.
No.
You take a look at the Illinois report card for District 86, District 99, and other surrounding areas, and everybody is down. Not just down, but way down.
Right.
In Hinsdale South, the 2022 report card shows that 39% of the children can do math and reading at grade level.
39%.
39%. You switch over here to Downers Grove, D99, it's 49%.
South is even worse, right? Our performance, I understand.
These numbers are completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
And
There's a few things for that, right? I mean, COVID set everything back, but also all these social SEL, social emotional learning, like, you know, they're infusing this into every aspect of the curriculum. It's a Marxist ploy, right? It teaches kids that equity is the rule of the day, so equal outcome instead of equal opportunity.
So who cares?
And that
who
puts
cares
the
about
fear. That puts fear in them. That puts fear. They're like, I got to toe the line. I got to toe the line, or else I'm. It also teaches white kids that, you know, because there were some bad white people in history, that they should have to pay for their mistakes, which is racist and insane.
it is.
Yeah, as a father of children in Downers Grove South, I'm not as especially concerned about the grades. As long as they got a big rubber strap-on cock being sucked in the library, I'm like fine with it. Just, you know, who cares about grades?
And that's the priority.
I mean, and then as long as
Which
they got,
is in the library.
and they got safe spaces on some of the teachers' rooms.
Yeah, right. So
I'd like to go in one of those safe spaces one day, just slap them, say that's not true.
So I want to go back to Jeff, your point about this might not be in the charter, and I understand your point that, like, maybe, but here's the deal. The other night Terry and I got in a big argument with Jack because we tried to move to have new business enter back into the agenda. New business is just a way for us as committeemen to speak up, to give our opinions about what's going on. And he removed that because Terry and I had done that a couple months ago when we got standing ovations. And what we did was we challenged the establishment, we pushed back, we criticized what they were doing and what they weren't doing,
Put the picture back
and
up.
sticking up for Republican values or conservative values. None of our politicians are doing that. They're too cowardly to stand up for the kids, to get sexual propaganda out of the schools and CRT and any of this stuff. So that's why we're criticizing the establishment, and Jack wouldn't have any of that. He suggested that he was going to decide what was a legitimate point of concern for a committeeman to speak about, which I thought was insane. And number two, he put a vote on the floor to say, does anybody believe that we should be criticizing Republicans? It was completely
That's what he was raising his hand for right there.
Completely disingenuous. Completely disingenuous, because that's not what I called for. I made a point of order, which allows for me to interrupt the speaker. Then I motioned for a vote to add new business back into the agenda. He skipped over me, which is breaking the Robert's Rules of Orders in the parliamentary fashion, because he doesn't know what he's doing. He gets angry like a dictator, and he just shoots down people who challenge him. Now, one of the things that Jack said during that meeting was that our charter or our goal in this organization is to elect Republicans. Okay, Jack, that's our goal. Well, let me ask you this: how is the Republican Party doing right now? Because we've lost 2 governorships in a row. We've got 40-19 deficit in the Senate. We've got 78-40 deficit in the House. We lost 74% of the school board races in 2023, and you're asking us to just shut up, not criticize the party, and and you're going to quash dissent when we have Republicans who voted for Amendment 1, who vote for illegal aliens to become police officers. We got 2 supposed DuPage County Republican board members who donated to Democrats, including Kim Foxx. So clearly, the strategy of Democrats is, why change anything with the Republicans? They're just doing our bidding for us. Yeah. And so don't tell me, Jack, that I can't criticize Republicans, because you're not putting any Republicans in office. You're not raising any money, and it's about as Republican as as Stalin to censor your own committeemen because they dare dissent from the party. So you don't know what you're doing. You're a terrible leader because you're censoring people. And you better get control of the parliamentary fashion because Terry and I are coming for you, and then we're going to move right on from you to the next rung of the ladder.
So I want to let me read this real quick. It's from my friend Val. He's goofy too. He's a political operative. He really rattles cages and stuff. But during this meeting with Jack, he had, well, what's a rhino? Remember, what's a rhino? So here I'll read a definition that Val put forth. Definition of a rhino is a Republican in name only. That's a Republican conservative that adopted liberal democratic ideologies to fit with this new generation club of conservatives that adopt policies such as embracing pro-abortion, taking money from unions, voting for Amendment 1, not defending our children. And they're doing that because they want to do a balance between the Democrats and like John Curran. We're in a D+3 district. So he doesn't want to upset radicals who think porn is okay. He's doing that over his own children, over our children, over our constituents, and that needs to stop. So, Jack, is that a good enough definition for you? You're a rhino, by the way, for supporting them.
Well, one thing I want to point out, too, kind of in line with what you were saying, Paul, excuse me, the leadership in this county is in many cases backing Democrats for office. Look at what they did in the gubernatorial race with Irvine.
True.
He's a Democrat.
Right.
He's the biggest rhino out there. They backed him.
Yep.
And then what did they do when he lost to Bailey? They did exactly what they always preach not to do. They always say, well, primary's over, we got to support everybody. Did they support Bailey?
No.
Did they ever support Trump? No.
Well, I'll
they
tell
only
you what.
support their guy.
See, because they know we're coming for them, the grassroots that is. And that, I thought that, I mean, I don't really have much of an opinion on how good of a candidate Darren Bailey is, and not saying I support or don't support him. What I will say is...
That was your opinion right there.
I don't say either way, but what I will say is that was a shot across the bow to the establishment. Because it said, like, no, you know what? We got a piece of garbage billionaire in office right now who's just doing his own bidding and as corrupt as day is long. No, establishment Republicans, we don't want your billionaire candidate. Okay, we don't want that. And so while, of course, we lost the governorship and that's not good, I still think it was good that we sent a message to the establishment that we're done with you. And that was the beginning. And now we're in kind of the slog of the fight here. But
you guys been around for a while, right? So you were here when DuPage was, I grew up in the Southwest side.
Right.
You guys are like,
I grew up here.
Bright red, right? And, it's kind of funny to hear Jim Zay say, I'm the longest sitting DuPage board member or whatever. It's like, okay, he just said that. I'm like, what an idiot. You were here from bright red to deep blue. And these guys, some of these people they don't know how to, they have to fight, right?
There's a lot of history there too. I mean, you're talking, going back when I first moved to DuPage in 1996, you had very distinct lines of who ran what. The Republicans ran DuPage County, the Democrats ran Cook County, and neither two should ever cross. And we had Pate Phillip running the organization here. The Republicans had the Illinois Tollway Authority as their source of patronage, and the Democrats had pretty much everything else. And
good old Chicago.
And those folks, they either left office or died off, but the attitudes never did. And you've got this establishment attitude about we just have to go along to get along.
Right.
And as long as that attitude prevails, Republicans are going to continue to lose elections because they stand for nothing except for themselves and their own petty offices. And what they need to do is they need to embrace those values that, you don't even have to embrace everything, but you have to embrace a minimum of, low taxes,
safety,
good schools. That's like a
defending your children is like a layup, right?
And good schools means holding school administrators accountable for their performance, which nobody is doing. You look at all the schools around here; they're all underperforming, and they've been underperforming pre-COVID. COVID just made it worse.
Right.
And the same thing with safety. I mean, you've got all this anti-cop rhetoric going on in the schools, and that all resonates through children as they get into high school and get into college and then get into the work world. You know, if you've got this constant drumbeat of this is bad, this is racist, this is bad, it's going to end up rolling into their daily lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, they know what they're doing with the schools because, look, you know, kids are taught that teachers are, authority figures and to respect them and so forth, and they know that that's the case, and that so they're going to introduce, you know, policy through education and start brainwashing them at a young age,
Well, it's
young and
indoctrination.
younger age. Yeah, right, absolutely. I mean, the social stuff, I don't even think it should be in school.
I agree.
Any of it, like, you know what? Let them think for themselves. You just teach them the STEM stuff and whatever. Like, and I don't need my kid hearing the opinion of some blue-haired, radical who thinks that kid can pick his gender at the age of 3.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things they keep telling us, this comes from Novak and some of the other clowns, that we have to win the middle, right? Independence. I remember Jack said,
all I hear from
there's extremists on both sides, which is
what the hell
the
does
dick
he know
towards,
about the middle, by the way?
I think we first have to excite our own base and our own people to come out and vote for us, right? And I think by doing that is getting people that run for office that are Republicans, right? That are strong Republicans that represent us, not these jamokes like Curran. And a lot of people don't vote. I said that to a number of people within DGTRO. And one guy's like, oh, that's not true. I'm like, yeah, it is true. People don't vote because they think it's a waste of time. Right. We're not going to win, or they're rhinos. So I think we need to find, so for instance, in DGTRO, we have to find somebody that's strong, right? That demands and deserves respect. Jack thinks just because he weaseled his way into this because we got somebody out of there that people wanted out, he thinks he's all of a sudden, you see his action, his behavior, he's smarter, he's the smartest guy in the room.
Around here.
He's not the smartest guy in the room. The guy has very little common sense. He doesn't have good leadership skills. He doesn't motivate. He doesn't even want to talk to us or hear our opinions.
He doesn't understand how to fight.
So what do you guys think that we could do better to start winning elections? Since you guys been doing this, you old dogs.
It's a long time.
Yeah, like what would you do to suggest to the people listening from our township or in general? What do each of you take a turn?
Here's what they need to do. They need to start with a blank board and just say, you know what, everything we've done in the past, it's over. Let's think new. Let's think out of the box. What they need to do is they need to go back to what the foundational elements or values of the Republican Party are. And then they need to find somebody who's articulate enough and forceful enough, force of personality, who can champion those. What they also need to do is they need to start a massive advertising campaign, whether it's billboards, whether it's
social media.
Social media. I mean, there's plenty of outlets out there right now. And just say, here's what we stand for. This is what we're about. We're not about go along, get along. We're about, how everybody wants good schools, middle, the right. I'm sure the left wants them too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But
well, their view is a little different.
Right.
But those independents out there that they're so worried about, they want good schools. They want great schools. Mm-hmm. But how do you have great schools? You have
minorities too.
How do you have great schools? Do you have great schools by pushing these social agendas? Are you trying to, genderize mathematics, science? No. You teach them objective truth. 1 + 1 will always equal 2.
Well, and from a political
supposedly, right?
From a political standpoint, the way to do that. So we have to also. I mean, the other side of that is you have to clearly state what you stand against.
Correct.
Which policies that are in place from the left, from the Democrats today in Illinois, who are writing bills every day that violate our constitutional rights. You got to point out what you stand against.
Yeah.
And then you got to say what you're going to do. Like the first thing, all that stuff that you were talking about, it was great. You know how you get that in schools? Well, school choice is one of them, but the power of the purse, right? Hey, we want to get control back of the legislature and the governorship, and we want to do that because we're going to control where the dollars go. And that's how we make the changes that are, the antithesis of what the Democrats are doing.
And if you go to any of these board meetings, or even, when we had the drag queen bingo controversy in Downers Grove, those rooms are packed.
Right.
those were voters in those rooms.
Right.
And to ignore this, because people don't want that. They just want to go to the library and take out a book.
Yeah, I know.
Of
course.
They want their kids to go to school, learn how to read and write, and then come home. Maybe play a sport.
Oh, that's that's
Well,
what
parents want their kids to be able to go to the library, and they don't want to have to worry about what their kids are going to be exposed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I brought that up at a library board meeting.
Arm?
One woman was saying, well, parents should, have control over what their kids do. And I made the point. I said, I grew up in this library, and when I went to the library, my parents didn't have to worry about what I was going to be exposed to.
Right.
The library was a safe place where I could go and see anything I wanted to because there was nothing there that was offensive or going to harm me.
Right.
Well, so what would you do if you had advice on what we can do?
Well,
to change
I think
this?
like Noel was alluding to or saying, I think we have to get back to core conservative values. Law and order. Safe streets, low taxes. Schools,
Bill of Rights.
Bill of Rights. Exactly.
Yeah, and then from just from a grassroots perspective, target a bunch of these legislative districts. You don't have to go against everybody, but let's go after these 5 right now.
You have to be strategic.
Let's go here.
I mean, there's data out there. Jeff and I have worked on this kind of thing. There's plenty of data out there to find out what your ground game could be. And we all know, as an example of the drag queen bingo thing and how many people we saw at the village council meeting that wanted to speak out against that. We all know that some of these policies that are being created from the left, nobody wants them. Nobody wants a safety act with cashless bail. In my neighborhood, the other day, a guy was caught filming little girls in Starbucks and in Target, right? A few blocks away from me, right in between my sister and me, were a mile away from each other. And, now he's back out on the street because of cashless bagel. So,
well, the other thing I think we need to do in addition to that is we have to effectively expose what our opposition is actually doing.
Absolutely.
Because when people find out, they're appalled. And most people don't believe it. They don't want to believe that it's actually happening, but we have to effectively convince them that yes,
like my posters, right? I had these liberal scumbags in my neighborhood, right? And they saw it and they're, oh, that's not true about Sean Kasten, supports porn. Now he openly said it at our meeting, right? And then we have Stava Murray. So we have candidates running against him. What's the Willowbrook police officer's name?
Aaron Porter.
Aaron Porter.
Yeah.
So we're going to help him. Stava Murray, radical leftist scumbag.
Vote for Aaron Porter.
She supports the porn. She also supports Hamas.
Taking away parents' rights.
We've got Nikki Conforti. We've
Yes.
got Nikki Conforti running against Sean Kasten. Sean Kasten supports porn, boys and girls bathroom, boys
Taking
and sports.
away parents'
We
rights.
need to go out and show that stuff to people, to independents, to normal. I don't know. I don't know if there is a normal Democrat anymore.
I don't think there is.
How could you be?
Marxists.
I keep joking around. I transition my parents and stuff. We all shifted a while ago. But if you're a Democrat now, and I say this over and over again, if you're a Democrat because you're purposely ruining our country, you're an enemy of us and our children. If you're a Democrat because you're an idiot and you're gullible and you don't know any better, you're still ruining my country. And both of you people are my enemies.
Yeah.
Well, our Democrats in Illinois are right. Like a lot of people, I mean, I talk about this a lot because it needs to be said. A lot of people are uncomfortable with the cultural conversation. Fine. What they're doing is they're hiding the fact that they are violating our constitutional rights, especially in Illinois with some of these bills. The book ban bill is a clear violation of our First Amendment rights. So is Amendment 1 when you get right down to it, because the individual citizens have no ability to redress on these matters. So they are violating our constitutional rights. And then Sean Kasten and Ann Stava Murray stand up there and they justify it by saying that we're bigots because we don't want to have, we are hurting, gay kids by not allowing them to see,
what is it about gay kids that they have to see pornography?
Yeah. And Stava Murray, this is why you got to vote for Aaron Porter, because she said the quiet part out loud when we were at that book ban event. She's like, well, you know what? I'll tell you what. The state has the money and decides where the money is going to go. So if that's the case, then we're going to make sure that our propaganda gets into the libraries.
Spoken like a true Bolshevik.
Absolutely, absolutely. A more communist approach I couldn't imagine. So, and you know what? The problem that I saw, because Kasten said something too when we were up there. He was like, remember I caught him? He said something. He goes, well, you could argue that this wasn't constitutionally necessary, but politically necessary. I said,
Yes,
hold on a second. I thought that institutions were not supposed to be political. Oh, thank you for allowing me to clarify what I meant. Blah blah blah. This I'm confident this upholds to constitutional scrutiny. Well, I got news for you, Sean. It doesn't. Okay, it doesn't. It is a violation of our First Amendment. You know how I know that? Not because I talked to a lawyer, because I can read. I don't need some gatekeeper telling me what my rights are. I can read the bill and see that a scumbag like you is going to sit up on a podium and tell people, because he's calm and measured, that this isn't a violation of our constitutional rights. It's just to protect gay kids. Well, it's BS. It's BS. You're giving institutional authority that overrides individual citizens' rights. And you're a Marxist for doing so.
Well, we have to be as good at calling them out as they are at calling us out. Because whenever they start coming up with pejorative terms like homophobe, transphobe, bigot, racist. Whenever they're doing that, whenever they're coming back with that, it means they can't argue the point.
It's Saul-Alinsky tactics.
That's right.
They can't argue the point, so they're going to beat you down.
Well, it's the Trump. Trump knew that well.
Yeah, and you know what the other one is? It brings up another issue that we really have to be looking at is election denier. Are you an election denier?
Like Hillary Clinton?
It's like denying the earth is,
you're a flat, you're a flat earther.
Yeah, you're a flat earther,
Well, I mean, so yeah, they try to put you in a box. There's no ambiguity, anything. There's no additional variables considered in any conversation. It's all just like, hey, it's black or white. It's like this is what I think the Safety Act is about. It's like, there is an injustice here, right? I mean, anybody can tell that the people with all the money get off, and the people at the lower rungs of society who can't afford to defend themselves all get thrown in jail. And you know that there are some that slip through the cracks that are innocent. We can all agree that there needs to be reform there, right? But what do? The Democrats get in power and they paint with a broad brush and say, okay, cashless bail. Everybody gets out of jail. So now the violent criminals, and what does that do? That causes chaos in society. And then what does that do? That radicalizes, the high and upper and middle classes against the lower classes. Like they're all dehumanizes them.
Yeah, they're divide and conquer.
Exactly.
Jason, check Slack, would you? I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my God.
Going back to,
go ahead, Noel.
Going back to what you were saying, yeah, it is Marxism. It's cultural Marxism, and it's been on the move since at least the early '60s.
Right.
Now, my daughter had a book report she had to do years ago on a book from a German communist named Herbert Marcuse.
Yep.
And Mr. Marcuse argued back, this is the 1960s, 1965, he said, communism has to get rid of this nonsense about violent overthrow of government, capturing the means of production, workers' paradise, all that nonsense. And he says if the left is going to succeed, they have three objectives. One, take over the culture. Two, take over education. And three, take over the language.
Yeah.
We win those three.
They got 2 of the 3 right now.
You win those three, we won. The game over. And like you said, the majority of these things have been won. I mean, you've got the president of the American Library Association declaring herself a Marxist.
Yes.
A Marxist.
Yeah.
We had one of the representatives. We argued against one of them at the book ban bill event with.
The attorney from there.
The attorney, yeah.
I'd like to have a practice vote for like the next board meeting or DGTRO meeting. Raise your hand if you think Jack Novak should step down.
Yeah.
Anonymous Jack, you're done.
I think the well has been poisoned too much.
Yeah, and we need to start. People are like, oh, what are we gonna do? There's lots of people that you think are like, your inside folks that are like, what are we gonna do? Who are we gonna put in there? I think we need to get the right person. We need to make a slot available for someone that's gonna be more inclusive, using their terms, willing to listen to us, right?
We need to act.
Take different ideas, be a little more strategic and visionary, and collaborative. And so, like, just no different than when we had McCarthy booted out. You had Jordan and Scalise saying before that, oh, I don't want it, right? We have a lot of people saying that right now. What happened as soon as he was gone? Yeah, I want it. A bunch of guys want it. That's what will happen. We need to get rid of him and make room for somebody that's a little bit stronger and a better leader.
Look, I'm sorry. This is real simple. You quashed dissent by censoring your own committeeman. You've disqualified yourself. Step down. Step down. That is the most anti-American thing you can do. It's anti-conservative, and because you couldn't hold your anger, you did it. And that's unbecoming of a leader. You know it, Jack. You led companies in the past. Step down. We're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. This is going to be harder on you than it is on us. We're going to go after you on social media. We're going to go after you in the media, and we're going to do it because you're wrong and you haven't done a good job leading, and it's not personal. Step down.
Yeah. You know what? The next meeting, I'm going to take that milk crate from behind the podium so he doesn't have a chance to step on it. So we're gonna wrap up here. Before we wrap up, I want to make mention of something. We're gonna have a guest come on the show soon. I'm learning how to move the right way. So rules for defeating radicals. Chris Adamo, great guy. You got to read this book. If you haven't read it, you got to read it. This is how we're going to fight. We're going to have him on the show in a few weeks, and he wrote this book to teach us how to fight. To what your point was earlier, when they come at us and they attack us and use all these goofy names and crap, right? Describing the narrative and calling us what we're not. Right, and they are basically what they're calling us. Everything.
Look how they reacted when we called them groomers.
Yeah,
they went crazy.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
Well, we can take inspiration from the fact that when all these board meetings we've gone to, they don't like the pushback.
No,
and there's people like us. There are people like us who are willing to take a stand and do the pushback. And they can call me any name in the book they want. It's just a lot of baloney, and I'll push back. If you're going to tell me failing schools are a good thing, I'll push back. You're telling me sexualizing young children is a good thing, we'll push back. But we need a leadership that's going to inspire a winning attitude and willing to step up and say, you know what, here's what we stand for. And it's not that hard.
No. Yeah. Jeff, you got a closing argument here?
Yeah, well, I think you're right. We have to get a new leadership in, because the old guard is just using the same playbook over and over, and it's not working any longer. And we need a new playbook. We need new players, and we need new leaders that understand today's environment, right, and aren't afraid to step up and call out the Democrats for what they're actually doing and make that obvious to people. We have to get the message out there that these people are not, working in the country's interest or in the interest of the general citizenry. They're working in their self-interest.
That's right. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. So we have to wake people up. We have to get more people to join our cause. We got to get more people to show up to the school board meetings, to the library board meetings, to be committeemen. I'm not a young guy. I mean, he's the youngest. He's young, but I mean, we got too many old people that are committeemen. Honestly, right? Mm-hmm. We need to start getting these younger kids in to help us, and that's a problem, right? That's a problem because we don't have enough young kids they're being brainwashed, right? Mm-hmm. And we got to get them to help us. We got to let them know what's going on in our schools, our country, before we lose. So,
I think the library board is a good example, because when they stirred the pot with the drag queen bingo, I think the library board meetings are much better attended ever since.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, by an order of magnitude, at least.
On that note, join us. We're the grassroots movement right here. Go to your library board meetings, go to your school board meetings, go to your city council meetings, speak out against this stuff. Watch us every week. Subscribe, like, share. We're on Rumble, YouTube. What else?
Facebook,
Twitter. Getter. Share, like, subscribe.
Got a lot of rough edges,
join us.
but yeah, please
Speak out against this nonsense.
And you know what? Going forward, if you want to have a shout out for events, and like Stag High School has an event coming up.
Boom,
They had
that's
Muslims
right.
come together, Muslim parents with other parents, different religions, different parties are speaking up about the boys and the girls' bathrooms and the porn. I'm going to help support them with some other folks. So we're going to go as a team to call out these scumbags that are ruining our kids' schools. So with that said, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thanks for inviting me.
Every time we pull up, you see stars, you see stripes, you see flags on the cars and the trucks and the bikes. Every time we pull up, we go hard, we outside, we got flags on our arms that are tatted there for life. Every time we pull up, we don't care if you're mad. We cherish this land, the haters can't get buried in rags. They set fire to old glory, turning fabric to ash. But every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags.